Folks, I've just got some breaking news. I've literally just seen this. This has just dropped, and this is absolutely huge. Apparently, the medical examiner has actually now released the results of the Celeste autopsy officially, and apparently she was killed by 2 penetrating wounds. So we'd seen previous articles and reporting that essentially she had been killed by a sharp instrument, as it says over here. DA says that David murdered Celeste with a sharp instrument. We were wondering whether this was a stabbing, whether this was the penknife or the flick knife, one of these bad boys that he apparently was showing off on Twitch and other places in the lead up to the murder. But now it's official. They're saying she was killed by 2 penetrating wounds, and we've actually got some information from the autopsy here. So TMZ, as always, seem to be reporting this first. It says Celeste Rivas's cause of death has been revealed, and the medical examiner in LA says she was killed by multiple penetrating injuries with unspecified objects. We don't know exactly what objects, but she was penetrated with a sharp instrument. There were a lot of really bad things going on with her and David before she passed away, and that's why the death has been ruled a homicide. So it says the medical examiner says there's 2 penetrating wounds of the torso with smooth edges that may represent sharp force injuries. The wound, 3/4 of an inch length and 1.5 inches deep on the upper abdomen, penetrates the liver, and the wound on the left chest, 9/16 of an inch in length and 2 inches deep, penetrates one of the left intercostal spaces with disruption of the adjacent ribs and cortical surfaces. So this is the official autopsy results. It says decedent Rivas Hernandez Celeste Abigar. And as I just explained to you, these are the wounds. So these are where she was stabbed with a blunt instrument. It looks like a knife. This looks like a knife wound to me. Could easily be one of these sort of knives that David was seen with. It honestly makes perfect sense to me. So basically, this is just breaking that down and explaining that there was injuries, multiple defects over here on the lower right, sort of the upper right back. There's multiple linear abrasions on the hands. So there was slices to the hands, slices to the fingers. They pointed out that's where the shush tattoo was on her finger. The skull, it says partially skeletonized. What does that say? Globe not present. Can't quite see what that says, but it says something with the eye. I think it says lips intact. Don't see what that says. Something present. It says there's a defect here. 6-inch at the top of the shoulder. So yeah, as you can see, it appears to be some kind of abrasion. I believe this is actually where the severs were made, these lines. So it appears that the arms and legs were cut here at these points. So one leg cut a little bit shorter than the other. I'm not going to lie. These are areas with like strong bones. So I think it seems like some kind of industrial tools would have been needed to make these sort of severances. That's just my opinion. Okay, I don't know. I'm no mortician. But it's interesting. So there's also some other things. It says it's interesting the medical examiner uses the word may, which is the defense, something they might jump on. The medical examiner also says her left ring and pinky fingers were amputated, but the body diagram shows her right pointer finger with the shush tattoo was intact. This will also be an interesting issue at trial because the autopsy report says there is a presumptive positive for methamphetamine and MDMA, but there was another screening that says methamphetamine was not inclusive and MDMA was not detective. So the report says Celeste may have had alcohol in her system, but it did not contribute to her death. So the stab wounds were obviously the reasons, and it was a homicide. Doesn't matter if she was dosed up with some MDMA or meth or whatever you want to call it. It's crazy. It says the body was badly decomposed. The head was partially skeletonized with an absent left eye. That's really dark. And I wonder whether that was literally cut that. Bruh, I don't even want to imagine what's going on with that. The remains were found in a black body bag and a black trash bag containing David's Tesla. Okay, and TMZ did kind of a long breakdown of what was going on. So let's have a little glance at this before I bring you some more reactions.
We just received the autopsy report from the medical examiner in Celeste Rivas's death, for which David is now charged with her murder. And there are some interesting things, and we talked about this before, that we knew that the coroner had ruled this, the medical examiner ruled this a homicide, but we didn't know the cause of death. And the DA said they were stabbed, there was some kind of sharp instrument was used. Now we know, and what they're saying is there were 2 wounds in particular, and that they believe, and they use the word may, and the word may is going to be really important, which we'll talk about, that they may be penetrating wounds, which would not be wounds to dismember a body.
Right, because of where they are, they believe, is I think the main, and also
and the way they describe it is they describe 2 penetrating wounds, one on the abdomen and one on the chest, and they describe them as, they tell you the depth and the length of these, and they say they have smooth edges. Indication seems to me that some sort of knife was plunged into her, and it left smooth edges.
The key is the length of the wounds. One is 3/4 of an inch, one is 9/16. So this size wound as the penetrative wound. These are
which
not,
is an indication of the length of the blade.
And also a blade that could not dismember a body, right? This would not be the same instrument used to dismember the body.
Now, the body was dismembered. They describe all that in detail, but those types of cuts to take the body apart would be different than
does the report say anything about the dismemberment or what they believe was used?
They don't say what was used.
No, it does describe it in a lot of detail.
But it's gruesome. So there's a word that's used, may, that it may have been caused by this. The defense is going to jump on that.
Oh, they'll definitely.
Because they're not saying it's conclusive, and it aligns with what we've been hearing, which is they were having a really hard time determining how she died.
Well, look at the passage of time.
As recently as February.
The passage of time to determine this is a long, it's many, many months.
There's also, and it's conflicting, and we still can't quite figure it out, but there are references to finding presumptive positive indications that she had both meth and MDMA in her system.
Although additional screenings showed that to be not detected, but the initial screen said presumptively.
It seems like there were 2 tests taken, 2 tox screens. The initial one detected MDMA and methamphetamine. Subsequently, they did a confirmation test, and it was unclear whether there was MDMA, but methamphetamine, but no sign of MDMA at that second confirmation test.
I mean, ultimately, is that going to matter when you get to trial, like whether or not she was
probably
on any drugs?
Well, they may argue it was an overdose. I don't know what they're going to argue, but they'll latch onto what they can.
That's true.
But look, I covered the O.J. Simpson case. The coroner was on the stand for 8 days in that case. So this is going to be the centerpiece of the case, because what the DA is saying is we have evidence she threatened David that she would expose their relationship, probably in a text. That's the way they make it seem, and that she goes to David's house on April 23rd, 2025, never to be seen again. Right. So now the question: what happened? So the prosecutor is going to say he stabbed her to death, and here are these 2 wounds, and then you're going to have the defense coming out and saying, look, number 1, you didn't say conclusively, you're saying may, and this is a reasonable doubt case. Number 2, if it was so clear to you, why 4 months in were you still saying undetermined? So this is going to be a huge part of this case.
And also, I would think, maybe they'll say this, that it would get harder to find those wounds the more time passes. Like they found her body in September, and I'm sure it's refrigerated, but the state of decomposition, I would think it gets harder by March. Now suddenly, what changed?
They're going to freeze it once they find the body. They can freeze it in the state.
But why couldn't that was what they found months later? Those penetrative wounds must have been known to the coroner right from the.
But why did they say we may never be able to determine whether
the body is in a very bad state? The insects and so forth are described in their liquefaction of organs and things of that nature. But the body that you can see in their diagram shows these 2 penetrating wounds, and those are inconsistent with dismemberment.
Well, there'll be pictures. There will be photographs.
There's going to be photographs of everything.
There will be photographs of all of this in the trial. But again, the defense is going to get every correspondence, every inter-office correspondence in the ME's office, and correspondence that goes to either LAPD or DA about what have you found with the cause of death, the manner of death. And if these correspondents say we can't figure it out, then the question is, how'd you figure it out? And why would it take you so long to see a penetrating wound?
I want to see if there's a pressure being applied by other officials to come to a conclusion or things of that nature. That's going to be tough on prosecutors if they're applying pressure.
And we know from right from the beginning, Nathan Hochman, the DA, was putting a lot of pressure to find an answer what happened to this girl.
Well, for good reason.
And for good reasons, but that might go to the pressure.
But we don't know. Again, we don't know, and we're not saying anything about what the truth here is. It's just this is going to be the core of this trial. This will be the core of the trial. Well, what we just got, and it's a very thick document and very detailed. And clearly, the way it's written, I mean, you can tell this coroner knows that this will be subjected to great scrutiny.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what. Again, I keep going back to that word "may" because that's a critical,
the lack of a definitive
critical word.
Lily, NYC. I think that this actually sort of clears things up a bit. It was very confusing, the details around the state of her body. And so actually pointing out wounds sort of gives us something to go on. So definitely the defense will have a lot to say, but I think this is a step in the right direction. Yeah, I mean, to be continued. There's a hearing tomorrow on exactly when this preliminary hearing is going to go down.
So look, there you have it. Okay, there you have it. It is for real, right? TMZ have done the full analysis on it. Now, I'll give you some reaction over on Reddit, okay, because people are posting this. This is going crazy on Reddit. Everyone's been waiting for this. People saying, so he essentially stabbed her to death. I hope he rots in prison. Awful. Poor Celeste. R.I.P. People are saying, are the lines on the legs cuts? Or is that where the dismembering was? That is where that is, okay? People saying it looks like a smooth-edged blade of a knife wound. I can't read the lighting, but the lines look like where the limbs were cut off. So sad. So there's more. Okay. I've got a bunch of other stuff that I want to cover, but I want to keep that in a separate video for you guys. So this is more reaction. The medical examiner saying she died from 2 penetrating stab wounds, and the drugs and the alcohol didn't contribute to her death. They said the body was actually placed in the Tesla and it sat there for 4 entire months. So 2 missing fingers not cut off and with the body completely missing. So this R-word killer maggot cut her finger off with this tattoo that said David. Said yes, left pinky and left ring finger. If this picture is her, if I recall correctly, that wasn't confirmed. You're directly looking at the 2 fingers that went missing. Now I'm going to tell you something crazy. It says this will finally debunk the OD then murdered theories. It won't though. Defense will find a medical expert who can start saying maybe the drugs in her system were the cause of death, maybe, and that could be enough to cast doubt on some jurors. It's going to be a battle between experts and high-powered rich people who have access to many of them. There's something that I'm really scared to show you guys that's coming up, honestly. Cause of death being multiple penetrating objects. Basically, there was a full statement, I believe. I'll read the statement to you in a minute. People saying, so it wasn't an instant death. Poor thing was suffering from bleeding out. All the while, David was more likely watching her bleed to death. What a sick and twisted monster. Okay, so this is the full statement from the medical examiner's office that was released. It says, the County of LA Department of Medical Examiner determined the cause and manner of death for 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez as multiple penetrating injuries caused by objects. The manner of death is homicide. Miss Rivas Hernandez was discovered at 1100 hours on September the 8th, 2025 in the front trunk of a vehicle in a tow yard in Los Angeles, and the death was pronounced by a detective with the LAPD. A deputy medical examiner conducted an examination of Miss Rivas Hernandez on September the 10th, 2025 at the DME's Forensic Science Center. The cause and manner of death were determined all the way back on December the 9th, 2025, but a court order initiated by the LAPD previously prevented the DME from releasing its findings. I wonder if they did that, if the police blocked that because they were thinking David might try and hide the knife. He might be dumb enough that he still has the murder weapon on him, and let's not let him know it was a stab wound so that he doesn't hide the knife, perhaps. It says, after several months, I'm grateful this information can now be released not only to the public, but also to the grieving family enduring loss, said the chief medical examiner, Dr. Ode Ukpo. It's unfathomable that they have had to wait this long to learn what happened to their daughter. The transparency of the information contained in our findings and reports is essential for empowering the community to make informed changes to effectively reduce fear and allowing the community to take informed action. Now, that last statement is so important for all the people that keep saying, oh, all the Redditors are just posting all this information and all this nonsense and everybody just needs to stop being a detective. Well, actually, no. As the medical examiner says, they were upset that the LAPD kept this from the family, and they said this is needed to empower the community to make changes and reduce fear and take action. And I agree. It was wrong to keep this secret for so long. They had this on December the 9th, months ago. Anyway, making the department's information publicly available is not just about accountability, it's about social justice and prevention. By ensuring access to this information, we strengthen our ability to learn, to act, and ultimately prevent the next tragic loss of life. I want to extend my gratitude to our partner agencies for taking the necessary step of filing an order with the court to make this disclosure possible. Okay, so damn, so they did know what happened to her fairly early on, and the court order stifled the announcement. It's extremely morbid. Okay, says the report talks about the drugs, blah, 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 blah. We already heard that. Okay, so this is David Yates. They're reacting to the info. Yeah. Honestly, I'm about to show you guys something that I don't even know if I could show you this. I don't know if it's true, but I'm going to show it to you. This thing, the sick fuck. Am I reading it right? He chopped her fingers off where it had the tattoo David. It says it seems like a trophy to me, but I don't know. This is incredibly messed up. Man, I'm going to show you this, okay? I'm probably going to have to blur this. I can't believe that I'm seeing this. This was just posted 14 minutes ago. Trigger warning. What I'm about to show you is really dark. It's really messed up. I'm going to blur it, but this is going around on Reddit right now, and it is reality, so massive trigger warning for you. This post is going around on Reddit, and they're saying that David actually took Celeste's finger with the David tattoo on it on tour as a trophy. And here he shows a cut finger on tour. And it links to a TikTok. I haven't watched this TikTok yet. I'm actually scared to even watch this, but let's see. Fucking hell. Is it? Please tell me this isn't what I think it is.
Wrapping up the one and only original Sakuna's finger from Jujutsu Kaisen. And, yeah, we about to drink some tea, do some vocal warm-ups. So.
It can't be. It can't be. It can't be. I'm speechless. Could this really be it? So this was on August 2025, the 19th of August. I just can't believe what I'm seeing.
Wrapping up the one and only original Sukuna's finger from Jujutsu Kaisen. And yeah, we about to drink some tea, do some vocal warm-ups. Some vocal warm-ups.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we about to drink
part.
some tea, do some vocal warm-ups.
Bruv. Says, yes, it's a prop. He showed clues all this time. It's not fan fiction, y'all. The whole premise of this finger is a dead person's finger. That character ate to get powers or something. Says, when I posted this a few months back, I was told it was nothing. They're saying this is the finger he took. What is he doing with a cut finger prop? So I searched with Google Lens, and it seems like the one he's holding is a prop of Sukuna's finger from the anime series Jujutsu Kaisen. But if the autopsy is showing that two fingers are absent, it means he likely cut them off, especially because one of them had the David tattoo. So he might have gone around with that object to remind himself of that. What the actual fuck? This man, sick monster, took her finger as a trophy. Let me look this up. Because if this is a thing that you can buy a Sukuna's finger prop. So it looks like this is a thing. All right. You can buy a Sukuna's finger prop. It is a thing. They sell them. That does look like what David had. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt and say that he's not posing with a real finger in this video. It looks like the finger, the fake finger that was bought. But I do think that this is symbolism for what he really had going on. I think the possibility that that's a real finger is low. But behind the scenes, it seemed like he kept a couple of fingers. So I'm going to say, let's not blur that. For context, I don't think that this is a real finger. I could be proven wrong. There's some backstory about this. I don't follow this anime. Okay, this is Jujutsu Kaisen fan page, basically. It says, does Sukuna's fingers only contain his soul and cursed energy, or do they also hold his powers too? It says, we know Sukuna was splitted into fingers in 20 numbers. My question is, Sukuna's fingers only contain his soul and CE. Is it also a distribution of his power into 20 fingers? Does the power mean like his ability, speed, strength, technical powers? This is just dark. It definitely holds his power like output and stats. It made pretty clear throughout the story with the number of fingers he also gets. This is just fucked. This is just fucked. I just can't believe it. So there's just more reaction on Reddit. Correct me if I'm wrong. The medical examiner says 2 penetrating wounds of the torso with smooth edges representing sharp force injuries. I know this might not be the knife, but it's worth discussing. OD my ass. The OD narrative is totally out of the picture. My mind went right to his knife. Smooth edges would indicate a knife, but the cuts were clean, not ragged or inconsistent. Okay. People are trying to get to the bottom of the report. It's been posted absolutely everywhere. Yeah. Ugh. I don't even know where to... Bro, the idea that he was keeping the fingers is just despicable. Okay, and I'm certain that that's not a real finger in that video. I couldn't possibly imagine this guy would be that dumb or ruthless. I think it is a prop, but I do think it represents what he really had going on, and it's just so dark. So look, can't believe what I'm seeing, gang. All right, I've got loads of links lined up that I want to react to. I'm about to hit the gym, and I'll come back and make some more videos for you guys. But yeah, this is just dark. So rest in peace to Celeste, man. Definitely deserved so much better.